Hi, this is Umair back with another tutorial. Up till now I've been creating videos on JavaScript, AngularJS, jQuery, and I've also created project-based tutorials. But this time I wanted to talk about the server-side JavaScript language, that is Node.js. That is very important for you to learn if you want to be a good web or nowadays mobile application developer. So what is Node.js? It is a server-side programming language, and you can say that it is a JavaScript for server side. It is used for communication and networking applications. So what are the benefits of working with Node.js as compared to other languages? Alright, so let's talk about different features and benefits. It is more preferable server-side programming language as compared to other programming languages because it keeps things simpler, as both front end and back end can be written in JavaScript. If you want to work on both back end and front end, and you can just learn JavaScript, and mainly all the frameworks and libraries of JavaScript use the same syntax of JavaScript, so you can easily learn frameworks like Node.js for the server-side applications, or you can easily get good grip in different frameworks for the front end JavaScript like AngularJS or React.js. Alright, our browser mainly process JavaScript as a front-end language. So if browser is understanding JavaScript, it is a good, and we can write maintainable code for the server side that is in the JavaScript. Alright, so other three points are the major benefits of using Node.js. If we are using any libraries for JavaScript, alright, like Lodash or Underscore.js, there are other libraries as well. You can share same library both for server side if you are using Node.js and both for client side applications. And if you have written an algorithm in JavaScript, Node.js can understand JavaScript syntax. AngularJS or React.js, other front-end frameworks, also understand JavaScript algorithms. You can share same syntax algorithm both on the server side and on the client side. You don't need to convert the logic in other language in order to work with server side. Alright, and the last one is we also need to share data among clients and server. The JavaScript object notation format is nowadays very famous for sharing data, and Node.js and front-end JavaScript frameworks can really understand JSON, so it is really easy for us to share data with the help of JSON. I'll be going you through from the start how to install Node.js, and it will give you a good quick start that how to work with different APIs of Node.js and writing small applications in Node.js. If you go to nodejs.org/API, you will see there are a bunch of APIs available in here. I'll be working on 2-3 APIs right now. It depends upon what are your requirements. You can work along with it. Once you know that how to work with 2-3 APIs, you will be able to know that how to work with other APIs as well. I'll be working on file systems, globals, and I'll be working on the console API documentation. So I'll be going through these things, okay? And one thing I wanna say you that I have created a Facebook group called Programmers. Make sure you join this group for sharing programming knowledge and for getting notification if we upload any new article or any video, or you can also share your experience with the members of this group. And make sure to subscribe this channel for more videos and for get up to date with our channel. Thanks. So now let's talk about the installation of Node.js. If you go to the link nodejs.org, it's gonna take you to this page, and from here you're gonna click on this link where it's written recommended for most users. Once you download it, you need to install it with default settings. In order to check if Node is actually installed in your system, what you need to do, I have a new project in WebStorm, and in here I have the terminal. It is the same as the CMD in your system. You can also use CMD if you have different IDE, but I'm working in WebStorm, so it has a built-in terminal which is same as CMD of Windows. So in order to check Node, I will write node --version, and it's gonna give me the version of my Node.js 4.3.1, and it is also showing that Node is installed in my system. Alright, so Node is installed. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go through the file system library of Node.js, and it has bunch of functions, and I'm gonna use few of them in order to show you that how to work with libraries, and inside libraries how to work with different functions. So let's go, and inside this empty project I'm gonna create a new folder first, and that's gonna be file. Alright, and inside this file I'm gonna click on new, and I'm gonna create a new JavaScript file, and I'm going to name it read.dir. Alright, and inside this file I need to add this file system library, and for all the libraries that we want to use in our project, there is a proper and a recommended way. You can see that if I come right here, file system, the description of it, it's saying me that in order to use this module I need to use require fs. Fs stands for file system. So this is how I can require the file system library in my Node project. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a variable, and I'm gonna write require, and inside it I'm gonna write fs, and now I have included the file system library inside this file, and with the help of this variable I can call all these functions if I want to use in my Node project. So let's try some of those functions. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the directory in my system. I'm going to read all the folders that are in my C drive. Okay, so fs, and it has, if I enter dot, I will write read dir. Okay, this is the function, and if I go to the read dir function, you can see that every function have synchronous as well as asynchronous function. You can see that it has a read link, this is asynchronous, and this is the read link sync. I'm gonna talk to you about the synchronous and asynchronous after this file system topic, so stick with me. So let's click on read dir. This is what we are learning right now. So if I come down, you can see that I need to call this function, and inside it I need to give a path, and after that I have to pass two parameters, one for error and one for data, that will be returned by this asynchronous function. Okay, and whether it's gonna return me error or it's gonna return me the data. Okay, so let's go and read dir, and I'm gonna give it the path of my C drive. Okay, and after that I need to give it a callback function data, and inside it I need to check if there is an error, then throw error, else console.log data. Okay, in order to test this file I can use in my terminal node, and inside the node I need to start from this root directory. The root directory is project, and inside this root directory I have a file directory. So right now I am in the root directory. You can see that I am the root directory. So inside the root directory I will write file read.dir.js. Alright, if I press enter, you can see that it has printed all the folders in my C drive. Alright, there was no error, and it has logged me all the data that was returned by this callback function. So we are done with this function. Now let's talk about few other functions, how we can write our own custom data in different files, and how we can create new files in order to update data inside those. So inside the same file folder I'm gonna create a new JavaScript file, and I'm gonna name it rw file, read write underscore file. And same as I did it in reading directories, I'm gonna create a variable fs equals to require and fs. Okay, and in order to read and write into file, let's check out different functions. Let's go back, and I have some function right here. I have a write file and I have a read file. This is the read file. Okay, so I'm gonna use both of these functions in order to read data from the file and write data into the file. Okay, so first I will read data from the file, and the file that I'm gonna be creating is the JSON file. If you want to learn about the JSON working with JavaScript, I have created a video on it, that is JavaScript with JSON essential training. If you want to learn JSON in depth, check out this video in this JavaScript and jQuery playlist. Okay, so let's go back, and in here I'm gonna create a new file which is of type JSON, not package.json. Let's delete it. Okay, let's create a new file, and it's not showing me. Let's create a file. So I'm going to name it data.json. Okay, so JSON file has been created, and inside this file I need to create the data in my JSON structure. So the structure of JSON is like, we have keys and values, and keys and values should be in double quotes unless the values are not in boolean. Okay, so first I'll give ID, and inside the ID let's give some numbers, and after that let's give a name. Make sure you don't leave double quotes in the keys. If you leave it, it will become an JavaScript object, which is somehow different from the JSON in terms of structure, in terms of usability. Okay, so phone, let's give it some numbers. So that's pretty much it in order to test that if it's working fine. So let's go back to our rw underscore file, and inside this file I'm gonna call a read file function of my fs library. So fs read file, and inside my file folder I have data.json file which I want to read, and after that I need to give it utf8, and after that I have the callback function that's gonna give me the data. So same as I did early, let's check out if there isn't any error. So let's throw error. Inside the else I'm gonna write console.log data json.parse data. Okay, let's find out the data of some property. Okay, but first let's check out if it's returning me correct output. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to call this new file inside the file directory, and this is rw underscore file. Okay, so you can see that it has returned me all the data inside this data.json file, and you can see that I have used json.parse. Okay, in order to work with the JSON files in JavaScript, we need to parse the JSON data with the help of this parse function. Alright, if you were using JavaScript object, then you don't need to use this parse function. Okay, again check out my other video for learning more about JSON files. Okay, so if I want to get the value of any property, I can write .id after that. Let's run it again. So you can see that it has returned me the value of ID inside this data.json file, and this is this value. Okay, so now let's talk about the write file. If I want to write any data inside my any file, okay, right now I haven't created a file in which I want to write data, but if I write data in a file that doesn't exist, it will automatically create that file, and you're gonna see that inside the file directory it's gonna create that file. Okay, so I'm going to use fs.write file, and inside the file directory I want to create info.json. Okay, so and after that inside the string I need to give it some data. Let's give it a JSON data inside it. So I'm gonna give it name, and it has a value Umair. Okay, so I have given it a JSON data. So let's check out. If I run this file, it should create this info.json file inside this file directory, and it's gonna take this data for storing it inside this file. So let's run this file, node file /rw underscore file.js. Okay, if I refresh this file folder, you can see that it has created info.json file. If I open this up, you can see that it contains a key name and a value inside it, same as we did inside it. So now let's try to write an JavaScript object inside a new file. So I'm gonna copy this line and I'm gonna give it a new file that's gonna again created inside this file directory, and rather than giving it a JSON data, I'm gonna give it JavaScript object. Alright, but we know that we are creating JSON file, so it's not going to create the JavaScript object. Rather we need to convert the JavaScript object inside the JSON format so that that data may be able to edit inside this info2.json file. So let's create first, this is the name and Ali. So this is the JavaScript object that I have created. The difference between is that the keys inside the JavaScript object can also be without double quotes, but in JSON file we should have added the double quotes around the keys. Okay, there are other differences as well. So now this is the JavaScript object. So let's convert it into JSON file because we are storing this data inside the JSON file. So let's use JSON dot, and it has a function stingify, and it's gonna take this JavaScript object and convert it into the JSON format so that it may able to store that data inside the info. So let's run this file, and you can see that it has run this file, and if I refresh this file folder, it's created info.json file. If I open this up, you can see that it has same data as it had inside info.json file. The keys have double quotes around it, but we didn't added double quotes around it because we have stingified this JavaScript object. That's why there are double quotes around this key. So that was pretty much it for this topic, file system topic. If you want to learn more, go through this file system library, and I'm gonna come back to this again because I want to show you synchronous and asynchronous functions. But before that, I want to talk about modules inside Node.js. So let's talk about modules. So let's start with creating our own custom modules. What if I have written a utility function and I want that function to be accessible in different other files inside my project? Just like you have created a library and you want that library to be imported in different projects, and these projects may use the utility function inside that library. So I'm gonna create a new folder called modules, and inside this module I'm gonna create a JavaScript file, and I'm gonna name it module. Okay, so in this file I'm gonna create a utility object. It can be variable, it can be function, and I don't want that function, the algorithm, uh, everywhere where I want to use that thing. Instead, I'm gonna create that function inside it and use this function in my other files wherever I want that thing. Okay, so first of all, I can use exports. This is how we can export different variables, different function variables, different object variables, so that these objects can be accessible in other files. So in exports, I'm gonna write dot obj equals to this object and text, and I'm gonna give some text inside it. This is my module. Okay, this is an object variable, and inside this object I have this key text, and I have another key, the sum, that's gonna take the reference of a function. Okay, let's give it 2 parameters, and it's gonna return me the sum of these two variables. Okay, so for just to explaining you how we can export different utility functions, that's pretty much it. And in order to use this utility function, I'm gonna create a new file inside my modules folder, and I'm gonna create and name it test module. Okay, in that module I exported variable with the name object, and in this module I'm gonna take that obj variable. So I'm gonna write var module equals to require dot slash module.js. I have required the name of file in which that variable was being exported. Okay, so I have the reference of that file inside my module. So I'm gonna console text, and I can write module dot, and it's gonna give me all the variables that are being exported. So I have obj, and inside the obj I have two properties, and I can access those properties with their keys. So obj dot text. Okay, so let's copy this line and paste it below, and in here I'm going to call sum, and inside it I'm going to send out two values. Okay, let's change the string to sum. Now I'm gonna run this test module file inside my terminal. So I have the file inside my modules folder. Inside the modules I have a file named test module.js. Okay, so you can see that I have run this test module, and it is utilizing the functions of module.js file, and it has printed me the text and the sum of 3 and 6. So this is how you can create your own modules. Wherever you want to use that, you can just export that variable. So that's pretty much it for creating custom modules. Now I want to talk about different packages inside Node. In Node we have something called Node Package Manager. If you have installed Node, NPM automatically installed with it. In order to check if NPM is actually installed in your system or not, just go to terminal, and inside the terminal just write npm-version. Okay, so it's gonna give you the version of npm that is installed in your system with your Node. Okay, so we have 3.10.9 in my system. You can have different variants as well. Okay, so npm is installed. Now I'm gonna create a file inside my project that is called package.json. If I right click on project and new, you can see that it is giving me package.json file. Okay, so what is package.json file? We have different dependency modules that we can work with it, like we have UnderScoreJS module, we have Gulf module, we have Grunt, we have Bower, and we have bunch of other modules, and each project must have used some of these modules. So it's not a really good practice to include all those modules inside your project, including those modules which you don't want to use inside your project, and the modules size is pretty large. Okay, so if you want to give your project upload your project on GitHub, it's not a very good practice to upload the node, all the modules of node that is being used in your project with your project. But you can create a package.json file specifying that these are the modules that are required for this project, and everybody that will download or pull that project from the GitHub, that's gonna check out the package.json file, and it's gonna install those packages with the help of that package.json file. So that will help us to keep our project size pretty small on the GitHub, and it will be convenient for user to download that thing. So I'm gonna right click on it and I can create a package.json file. But there is another way that we can install package.json file, and that is from the npm. Okay, so I will write npm and init. Okay, so it's taking some time. It wants me to, so I'm just pressing enter because I want to keep it in default settings. So let's press enter. Alright, so if I go to project, you can see that it has created package.json file. If I click on it, it has created some default properties that are required for us to start with package.json file. Okay, we can also create the package.json file if you are using WebStorm, but we can also use it npm init. Okay, so with the help of this package.json file, we can specify different modules, that these are the modules that I want in my node project. Okay, so the first module that I want to show you is UnderScoreJS, and in order to install UnderScoreJS, I need to create a new property inside it. And for creating a new property, I'm gonna write dependencies, and inside the dependencies it's gonna take the object, and inside this object I want to give it all those packages that I want to use in this project. So first module that I want to use in this project is underscore, and after that I'm gonna give it name, the version of that module. Okay, so I will write 1.8.3. Alright, this is the version that I mostly use of UnderScoreJS. UnderScoreJS is the package that contains utility functions. Okay, and I will show you that what are those utility functions in just a minute. So I have created this dependency underscore, but it is not being installed in my project. I have just added it in my package.json. In order to install it in my terminal, I'm gonna write in npm install. So what npm install is gonna do, npm install will look up this package.json file, and it will look up this dependencies property, and all those packages that are written inside it. Npm install is gonna download that package and add that package in my project. You're just gonna see in a moment. So I'm gonna write npm install and I'm gonna press enter. Okay, so it's taking some time and it has installed UnderScoreJS. Okay, if I go to my project, you can see that it has created a new folder, a node underscore module, and inside this is a reserve word that is automatically created and named like this. We don't want to change the name of this node modules folder. Inside this folder we have underscore folder, so this folder is showing that our underscore package has been installed in our system. Okay, so now let's work with underscore and let's see that what are the different utility functions inside it. This tutorial is not about any specific package like UnderScoreJS, because every package, every library of Node.js contains bunch of functions and needs a lot of time to learn. Okay, So let's first check out one or two utility function of Underscore.js. I'm going to create a new Java file and I'm going to name it underscore. Okay, so in order to use Underscore.js, I'm going to create a variable simply underscore, and I will require underscore. Okay, so in order to use different functions in underscore, I can use the variable underscore dot, and it's showing me all the functions inside this library. So I can write each, and this is just like a for loop, and I can give it an object, I can give it array, and it's gonna iterate through all the elements inside that array. So let's give it a static array inside it right here. So 1 2 3 4 5, and it's gonna have a callback function, and inside it I'm gonna log all those items. Okay, so inside my terminal, let's write node underscore.js. Okay, so you can see that it has printed all these values inside this array. So this is how you can install package and install different modules. If you want to learn more about Underscore.js and different other utility functions, I have created a video in my channel, Underscore.js tutorial, learn Underscore.js in one video. This is about 1 hour course, and I have covered almost every utility function inside this video. Check out this video if you want to learn this and more about that. I have also created a video on NPM, and this is a 7 minutes video if you want to learn what are the best practices of using NPM in large projects and different ways of working with NPM to speed up your work. Check out this video. I'm going to give the link of all those videos in the description of this Node.js tutorial video. Okay, so now if I want to, another thing that I want to show you, this is not the NPM tutorial, but let's see that if I want to install any package without adding that package right here in dependencies, I can simply write npm install, and after that I can write name of that package. Okay, and this is how we can, let's install gulp. This is another package of Node.js for automating the repetitive tasks in our project. So let's enter. So it's gonna take some time. It's installing gulp from the internet, and it will create a folder inside my node underscore modules. So let's wait and see if it creates the gulp folder inside node underscore modules or not. Okay, so it's taking some time. It depends upon your internet speed. So you can see that if I upload this node modules folder, most of the time in large projects this folder contains 20 to 30 packages, and that will take a lot of time, a lot of space to give it to your friend, to upload it on the GitHub. What is the best practice of is that just add those packages inside this dependencies object. Okay, and whoever will take this project, he will just run npm install, and npm install is going to look into this dependencies, and it's going to install all those packages inside the project in your friends or other people's system. Okay, so this is the one module, it's taking that much time. Okay, so you can see that if I just go to the, just reload node modules, so you can see that it has created bunch of packages. These are a lot because these are required for automating the repetitive tasks. So now let's talk about synchronous and asynchronous function calling inside file system library of Node.js. Okay, so I'm gonna create a new folder inside my project. So I'm gonna name it sync underscore async. Okay, and inside this folder I'm gonna create a JavaScript file. First I'll show you how to work with sync calls. So I will name it sync call. Okay, so let's require fs library, and inside my data variable I'm going to call read dir, and I'm going to add a sync word after it. Okay, and I want to fetch all the folders inside my C directory. Okay, and after that I want to print some message to show you that data okay, so let's run this file. I write node sync underscore async slash sync call.js. Alright, and it has printed all the folders in my C directory. But one thing that I want to show you, let's add second text after printing out the data. So let's run this again. You can see that the folders have been printed first, and after that we have second text written in my terminal. Alright, so what it's doing, it's taking some time to call this directory, and unless it's not going to return any data, this line is not going to execute. Okay, once this line is going to execute the data completely, it's gonna print out the data, and after that it's gonna print the second text. This is called synchronous programming. Once a process is being running, it's not going to give the access of other processes to being run. Okay, so other thing that I want to show you is asynchronous programming. Right now the disadvantages of the synchronous programming, we must be take care of the things that if it takes about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then our other work should not be disturbed. So it's gonna take 10 minutes, this line is not going to execute. In asynchronous programming, no matter how much time it takes, the other lines of code is gonna execute. Okay, so let's add a new file. In that file I'm gonna write the asynchronous programming, and in that I'll show you that how the second line executed before the first line completed the execution. So I'm going to name it async call. Okay, so inside the async, let's add a variable, require it as usual, so fs. With the fs variable I will call read dir, okay, and c : function error data if error. This is the same as I have done already in my files, so throw error. Inside else I will add console.log, and I will print out the data. Okay, so obviously this call is gonna take some time, but we want to see that once it takes some time whether it let other lines of code to execute or not. So I'm going to print out some message, second text. I want to see that if the second text is printed first, and after that this directories should be printed. So now let's async call, let's run it. So these are the folders, and above that I want to see that text. So you can see that I called this file and it has printed second text first. because this was taking some time, so it let other lines of code to execute first. So the second text was printed first, and after that when it completed the callback function, it printed out all the data, all the folders in my C directory. So this is how synchronous and asynchronous functions work of Node API docs, and all the functions have synchronous and asynchronous function. Synchronous have sync keyword and asynchronous functions have nothing with a function name. So make sure what you want to use in your project and use carefully if whether you want to use synchronous function or want to use asynchronous function. Mostly the asynchronous programming is worked, but sometimes we need to work with synchronous functions if we use a variable that is dependent on the values that are being used on the next lines of our code. So that was pretty much it for asynchronous and synchronous programming. The last thing that I want to talk in this video is the frameworks, and the framework that I'm going to be talking about is Express. So let's do that. So now let's talk about frameworks in Node.js. There are many frameworks, and one of those frameworks is Express.js that I'm going to be talking about in a while. First, let's define what is framework. Framework provide a proper structure, and in that structure we need to embed our code to carry on with our project. If you go to npmjs.com, you will find bunch of frameworks and libraries for Node.js, and these are the 9 frameworks and libraries that are being used and that are famous nowadays. So you can see that Express is right here that I'm gonna be using for creating end-to-end REST APIs, and that is really helpful for creating APIs for the communication from the client side to the server side and vice versa. So let's go to our project, and I'm going to use npm install express to install Express in my project. So it's taking some time, and it will install Express in my folder node underscore modules. Okay, so it is installed. If I go to node modules, there are a bunch of packages right here. If I go, this is the Express package that has just been installed. All right, so we have Express installed. I'm gonna be using static API and exposing the end-to-end REST APIs, that how we can work with Express for running our web app on the browser. So I'm going to be creating a new directory inside my project, and I'm going to name this directory frameworks. Okay, and inside this framework directory, I'm going to create a JS file, express underscore static JS. Alright, so same as all, in order to use Express, we can create a variable and we can use require Express. And once we require the Express module inside our JavaScript, we need to call Express function with that variable. So I'm going to use var app Express. So now I have this variable. With this variable I can add the HTTP request for sending out request and receiving the response from the server. It is used to create actually configuring the server, and I'm just going to be showing you that how we can create one of those. So first I'm going to create end-to-end REST point, and I'll show you how to expose that point inside the browser. So app.get, and in here I'm going to give it a URL that this is the URL that you need to check for testing this website. So I'm going to give it hello, and after that it has a callback function which will have 2 parameters. One is request and other is response. Okay, so once we will request for the response, it's gonna return me the response. Anything that we will give inside this callback function. So I will add response.send hello, this is me Express. Alright, but we also need to give it the port number, that this is the port number that you need for working with this URL. Okay, but before that let me run this file, node frameworks express.static.js. Okay, you can see that it has ended. The reason is that I need to add a port, and once I'll add a port, it will stop without ending this execution. So I will give it app.listen, that what is the port from where I need to listen it. So I will add a function. Inside this function I'll just console.log listening to the port. Okay, now if I run it, it has ended again. Let me check out the error, that resolve file name. Alright, node frameworks, actually I am writing a wrong word. This is the frameworks and I am writing frame words. Okay, so I need to go right here and correct its spelling. So if I press enter, you can see that it has shown me the message listening to the port. Now if I go to the browser and I need to call localhost 3000, okay, it is showing me can't get slash, because I have told that this is the URL that you need to use after this port in order to get this message. Alright, so I've created this endpoint that without using this endpoint you can't get this message, you can't get this response. So inside the browser I'm going to give it hello. So if I write hello, I have given the endpoint. Alright, this is the address for getting this message. So it has shown me hello, this is me Express, the same message that we sent with this response. So this is how we can create endpoint with Express and we can get the message with the help of this port. Now let's create a new file. Inside it I'm going to create a new directory and name it public, and inside this public I'm going to create an HTML file. Let's add 5. Okay, and inside it I'm just going to hello YouTube. Okay, I've just added a text inside it. Now if I want to expose this static content, right now I created the endpoint, and inside the endpoint I return the response from here. What if I want to expose anything that is inside this file? Whenever we hit any URL, specific URL, it's gonna show me anything that is inside this HTML file. Okay, so let's come right here and I'm going to use app.use express.static. I need to specifically tell it that I'm going to expose you a static file and you need to show this static file whenever a specific URL gets hit. Okay, so static, and I'm going to use a global Node.js library. If I go to Node and if I click on global, it should be right here. This is globals. Okay, you can see that it has underscore directory name, and what it does is it gives us a current folder in which we are working. So we are working in express_static, and if I call __dir name, it's gonna give me the path of this framework. Okay, so I have set out the dir directory name. So now in order to fetch the file.html content, I need to use different URL, and that URL would be, if I'm exposing a static directory to my framework, so I will write localhost 3000 slash public slash file.html, because I have given this port this directory. Okay, so let's go, and I'm going to write public slash file.html. Actually I have to run it again. So frameworks express static, so I have run it again. Now I need to go back and localhost colon 3000 slash public slash file.html. If I press enter, you can see that hello comma YouTube have been printed. So everything on server we can have static files, static HTML file that we want our server to send us whenever we request a specific URL. Okay, so this is how we expose any static content that is inside a file, HTML file, or any other object of JavaScript. Okay, so this was all for the frameworks. This was a beginner level course, and that's pretty much for this video. I hope that you have got the idea that how to work with Node packages, how to work with Node modules, how to work with asynchronous and synchronous file systems, and how to work with different docs of Node.js right here. In the next video, I'm gonna be creating a website with the help of Node and Express. That will be a full-fledged website with full navigation of pages, request and response from the server, with the help of creating end-to-end RESTful APIs, and I'm gonna be using a JSON format for creating the APIs. So stay tuned and subscribe this channel, like this video, and thanks for watching.